Hey, good afternoon. So my name is Jordan Van Itsen, and I'm a PhD student at the National Cheng Kung University. And I'm going to present you the Birdie CubeSat mission, which is a mission of a CubeSat for space weather studies between the Earth and Mars, with a precursor in a GTO. So this CubeSat has been this mission has been initiated between the Paris Observatory, thanks to Boris Segreg, who also is here today, and National Cheng Kung University with Professor Mio and Professor Zhuang. It has been started 1.5 years ago. And Birdie stands for Bleeping Interplanetary Radiation Determination YOYO. Why YOYO? Because the CubeSat will go to Mars, fly by Mars, and come back. So that's why it's a YOYO. First of all, I will introduce you the science case and go to the mission profile of the Mars mission and focus on some of the key challenges which we have identified and introduce the GTO precursor mission. So the science case, what do we want to do? We want to study space weather in interplanetary medium, and we want to look at the radiations particles between the Earth and Mars. Because the only instrument which has taken radiation measurement between the Earth and Mars was a RAD instrument on board the Mars Science Laboratory mission. And actually this instrument was not made to study particles during the cruise, but on the Mars surface. So it was located behind a shielding, so a lot of secondary particles which we didn't want to detect has been detected. And the particular range studied is too wide compared to what we would like to study. So our goal is to use the RAD instrument as a baseline for our mission, because it's already a quite complete instrument and quite small, but we have to optimize it for the mission and miniaturize it and specialize it, because we do not need such a wide range of study. So what we want to focus is to catch observational data at different during the full trajectory. And to prepare this mission, we are preparing a GTO precursor mission, for which we will carry a payload which will have been already demonstrated in space, because for the precursor mission we want to focus only on the technical challenges, on proving the feasibility of the technical challenges. So what are the particles of interest? We would like to look at the galactic cosmic rays, at the solar particle events, and for the GTO mission, at the Van Allen belts. Van Allen belts, which goes up to mainly up to 20,000 kilometers, and the GTO mission from 200 kilometers of perigee and 36,000 kilometers of apogee. But for the Mars mission, we would like to study galactic cosmic rays, solar particle event, and we do not wish to study the secondary particle. So we want to have a good knowledge of the incoming flux of primary particle. What is interesting for us is that we see that the models of galactic cosmic rays disagree with each other, and also the RAD instrument has shown, thanks to the data of the RAD instrument, it has been shown that there is what is called the Hohmann-Parker effect, which is actually the spiral you can see somewhere there. And this effect is that the particles, the solar particle events, for example, the particles will be carried by the interplanetary magnetic field, and at some point during a Hohmann trajectory, the CubeSat and the Earth, or the CubeSat and Mars, or sometimes the three of them, will be aligned on the same interplanetary magnetic field line, and could observe actually the particles at on the same line, which means some particles which can be seen on Earth could be seen then by the CubeSat during its way to Mars, or by a Martian orbiter. So the mission profile for the Mars mission profile. Here we have the CubeSat. So we do not plan to do telecommunication during the way to Mars and back. What we plan to do, the only contact we will have, is thanks to a beacon on board the CubeSat, which will be which the signal will be tracked by the VLBI network, a very large baseline interferometry network, for tracking the satellite. The satellite will go to Mars and take the data on the way to Mars, will transmit the data to a Martian orbiter who could relay them to the Earth, and then the CubeSat will fly by to the Earth and transmit again the data when nearby the Earth. So to have such a trajectory, we will need to fly on board the host mission, which will also fly to Mars. And we will have to do some very small orbit trajectory correction, thanks to an electrical propulsion we will have on board. I will describe it a bit more later. Regarding the science objective, we would like to quantitatively assess the Raman-Parker effect. So actually we want to look at what kind of particle species and how they are propagating along this interplanetary magnetic line. And in order to reduce what kind of particles we want to study, we are focusing on the particles which are potentially hazardous radiations for humans. For this, what we want to look at is protons and electrons, especially between 10 MeV and 1 GeV, and heavy ions between 10 MeV and 800 MeV. So, for some of the to choose which kind of ions we want to study, we look at what we call the Whitening factor, which is a factor determining how hazardous for humans particles will be. So in order to prepare this, the requirements of such an instrument, we have to now define at least 18 requirements which the payload will have to satisfy in terms of measurement, attitude, spin, and operation mode, and so on. So some key challenges appear for this mission. We have already a preliminary design, and we have studied every subsystem, and we have detected, we have assessed that the main key challenges for which we are the least confident is the autonomous navigation and the telecommunication. So, about the autonomous navigation, we are preparing on ground a tool to early assess, to implement the trajectory of the host mission and assess if we are able to perform the correct orbit correction to have a free return trajectory. So we have an industrial partner, the Liquid Micro PPT Consortium. They had a presentation on Tuesday, I believe. And so we are studying our case right now with their electrical propulsion subsystem. So we have assessed what could be the impact of a very small delta V, but at the right moment, on the trajectory. So on this figure, you can see on it's on a Mars. The red dot in the middle is Mars. It's a Mars graph, a reference frame, and we on the left with theta, it's simulating if we do impulse at the right moment, even if it's a very small impulse. So we took as an example delta V of 2 meters per second. We could move the apocenter of the trajectory, which means we could move the arrival at Mars of the CubeSat 175 kilometers to the left and 30,000 kilometers in the orbit of the Sun. So what is important to see is that with a very small trajectory correction done at the right moment, it can have a very strong impact on the arrival of the satellite. So we are confident that our electrical propulsion system, which have about 120 meters per second delta V capabilities, could be sufficient to reach the right trajectory. So how does it work? For the navigation, an optical planet tracker will look at the sky and see how the planet will move at different moments and check if we are far or not from our reference trajectory. And this has to be processed on board. This has to be fully autonomous. So for now we have assessed that we need actually 4 measurements, and if we have 4 measurements looking at one planet, we can then inverse and know where we are on the trajectory compared to the reference trajectory. So now what we have to do is to assess the accuracy of this navigation system. Regarding the telecommunication, when we are at Mars, we have to respect the Proximity 1 spacecraft protocol, and also we have to use UHF. And in order to maximize the data rate, because it will be a dynamic profile, we plan to use a software-defined radio. So for now, by assessing, by taking a case of 2,000 kilometers of approach to a Martian orbiter, we will be able to transmit 20 megabytes of data to the orbiter. So we are working also on how to increase this value. So navigation, telecommunication are the key challenges. So the Birdie GTO precursor has to demonstrate those challenges. Up to now, we have been working with methods inspired from Agile methodology. So we are working in engineering cycle, in which we still implement the traditional way of mission design review, system requirements review, and so on. So up to now, we have been focused on the Birdie mission to Mars, and we had the system requirements review in August. Now we know what kind of key challenges we are facing and what we have to demonstrate. So right now we put a pause on this Birdie mission and Birdie Mars mission, and we now focus on the Birdie GTO mission. So during the Birdie GTO precursor flight, we want to demonstrate many 4 things. So So the capability of tracking the satellite with the VLBI, the inter-satellite and ground satellite transmission with this high elliptical trajectory, the electrical propulsion integration, the autonomous navigation, for the onboard data handling, the full autonomy of changing the mode, and also we would like to demonstrate that we can sustain the space environment, especially the radiations. So this is a mission profile, a very high elliptical orbit, and transmission not always, but if we have opportunity to orbiter which will be on GTO, like a GPS or Galileo, for example, mission, and to the Earth. So to summarize, this project has been started 1.5 years ago. More than 30 students has been involved. Up to now, we have detected two key challenges, two studies which are very important to demonstrate: the autonomous navigation and the transmission of data with inter-satellite. We have used Agile methods inspired from Agile, and we keep going to use those because we think for international student CubeSat it's very accurate. And now we focus on this GTO precursor mission. So please, thank you for the question. And if you have any question, please let me know.
Thank you. You certainly take the award for the largest matrix in the conference. I believe that was the biggest one I've seen so far. Are there any questions?
So this is an interesting mission because it's beyond LEO, and staying at LEO, we know that we are shielded by radiation, and that's a nice environment to be. You are using COTS devices, is that right? My understanding is that I believe that unless you are using special components which are like in the main missions to at least a certain level of radiation hardness, it will be difficult to deal in the GTO and even in the interplanetary orbit. And to what level you look your subsystems to be based on more radiation hard components than cold components?
Yeah, exactly. The radiation, the way to be able to sustain the radiation is a strong, it's a strong thing we have to demonstrate during the GTO mission. And we would like to use COTS up to what is possible, but we already know, for example, that for the telecommunication we will need a full custom subsystem. For the onboard computer, we are looking into the Leon computer, and of course this GTO mission has to demonstrate this radiation environment we can sustain. So yes, we are going to use as much COTS as possible, but we already know that some COTS will have to be adapted for the mission.
All right, thanks. We'll have to wrap it up there. Thanks very much.